decided to make the Sequoia jacket, and this seems like a little bit of overwhelming project at first, but if you take it step by step, it's actually very easy. So I set up my cutting layout, and for the front side of the jacket, I laid them on as a two-piece, and then these pieces I'll need them to mark down the pocket placements, because they're actually mirror each other, and the only reason they are cut one at a time is because of the pocket placement. So I like to cut them both together so that they're nice and even. And these are all the pieces that require two for the cut, and these are cut on a single layer of fabric, all on the grain line, of course. Now that I've cut my pieces, I separated everything together, the back parts, the sleeve, the cuff, and I'll leave those to the side. And I'm going to start working on the front first. So since I cut my front on the fold, I'm going to separate these so I can mark them with their respective pattern pieces. The next step, I'm going to mark my breast pocket. It has a pleat here, so we're going to do the pleat on these two pieces, or one piece. It's only on one side. And I will be inserting a zipper in here. As you can see, it has a zipper. So I'll make the pleat. So before even doing the pleat on the breast pattern, I'm folding it to the shape, and I cut out the pattern piece and used it as a template to do that. And then I'm just holding it with the little clips, just so that it can hold this shape. And I did that at the pressing, I pressed it. So to put the zipper in here, make a little snip all the way to the corner, and then that part is going to be folded in like this, and then the outside is going to be folded this way. I've made my pleat, and I'm just going to trim it, just because there's so much bulk on there. And then I'm going to press my pocket part again and get ready to attach the zipper. I'm getting ready to attach the zipper, and I don't want to put it all the way up because well, maybe I can. So you first put this part down, pin it or glue paste it in place, and then I'll be using a zipper foot and making a seam really close over here along the zipper line and up on the top. And then after I do that part, I'll place my other piece on top and attach it along the side. So this is how I decided to attach the zipper. I sewed it along this bottom line here, across the top. And then I'm going to add the zipper pull. And then put it up to there. And then close it across here. And then put the other piece on top here. And sew it along that line. If you're sewing along and you've gotten to this point, I have good news. This is the hardest part of the whole entire pattern. After that, it's going to be a piece of cake. So we're putting our breast pocket to the side, and we're going to start working on our side pocket pieces. So for the side pocket pieces, the first thing we're going to do is serge this area where it says on the pocket to serge it. So this side and this side. And then what we're going to do is we're going to fold it like this piece, and top stitch along where the pocket where you insert the hands. This is going to be the open part of the pocket. So top stitch along this little line here, and then fold your other pieces, and we'll be attaching it like so. So I'll start putting my sides together by pinning at the bottom first. At the top. Just making sure your seams are nice and even. Then find your notches and match them. And after you found your notches, you can clip into the curve side if you need to. It doesn't look like I need to on this one because it's fitting nicely. Here are my front pieces sewn together. Look at your pattern pieces and notice that you're going to be doing a top stitching along this part. So we're going to do that after we serge, but before we attach the pockets. So the top stitching, you're going to fold the seams, and when you stitch over the top, maybe like an eighth of an inch away from the seam line, fold. You're going to catch all the seams. You're going to catch the seams on that side. Do the same thing for the other side. So this shoulder patch goes here. And what you're going to do is you're going to seam it along the lines and then flip it around and top stitch it. Okay, so I worked on the patch, did the top stitching, that's going to go there. And I also folded over the cloth that goes over the shoulder. And I had marked this is going to be where it goes on the seam line, and this is towards the back. So I'm going to put these to the side for now as well. pocket is done. And remember to pin it on the edges, because it's kind of takes the shape of the the what do you call it, the princess seam line. And I am going to put this to the side because I'm tired of doing the hard parts for now. And I'm going to start putting the back together. So for the back, we need the yoke. We'll put that to the side. And what I'll do is I'll make my clips along the matching notches. And I will put the sides to the back and do the top stitching along this side and this side. And then I will attach the yoke to the back once I have it together. Make sure you follow your seam lines so that the back matches the yoke exactly. And then I will top stitch along this. Back is put together. I put the sides. I serged, and then I top stitched, and then I attached the yoke, serged it, and top stitched. So now it's good to keep your pattern pieces, because the instructions are actually on the pattern pieces. This shoulder seam is going to be also top stitched. So the next step, making sure there's nothing else that I need to attach. Next step is going to be the shoulder seams. And this patch is going to be caught under the shoulder seam, so I have to sew it to this. Or baste it to this shoulder. And then sandwich it in. Notice that the seam on this shoulder part is a little bit shorter. So the fact that it's placed like this is not placed right up against the shoulder seam. So what I'll do is I'll tack it down with a basting stitch and tack it down over here so it doesn't shift while I'm sewing. And then I will attach the shoulder seams with the correct seam allowance. And then I will top stitch as indicated on the pattern along here. So I've pin basted my patches, and they're pretty spot on where I had my markings. So I'm going to go ahead and top stitch along. I was searching the internet and found a method for doing these tabs that I hadn't thought about before, but it's really simple. Just sew the triangle end of it only, and then flip it. And I will put a description, a link in the description of where I found this. And then just fold your sides in. And top stitch. Okay, so the sleeves, we have the side panels and the cloth that goes on this area of the elbow here. Make sure you pay attention to what goes to the front and what goes to the back because they are directional. You're going to fold them on each side, the bottom and the top, and then top stitch along this end. I marked the center point of my sleeves and the front. And for the patches, notice how this is tapered here, indicating the front. So that's how I attach them between the two notches. And I'm going to top stitch now. The sleeve is going to be open at the bottom. So you want to finish your sleeve first on each side by serging, because this part is going to be open. And mark your seam line if you have to before you, in case you cut off too much on the sides, so that your seams will be even. I serged my sleeves, being very careful not to cut the any of the seam off. And the next step, this goes towards the front. The front is the skinny panel. And you're going to match that notch with the marking that you did on your sleeve, facing right sides together. And then we're going to fold back until the stitching ends. Right now we're just going to fold back the seam line. Not going to worry about the stitching just yet. It's going to be about 1/4 inch. And same here. And then we're going to sew a little seam line along here. So next I pressed it and pressed it up in the back, so that when I top stitch it, this is going to catch this seam over here. But before we do that, I'm going to take the straight side, flip it around at the fold, and sew it right along here at that seam line. So I ended up sewing the little seam across without folding this, like so. Now I'm gonna trim the tip and my seams a little bit. And hopefully this worked. I'm gonna flip it around. finished the sleeves, getting the sleeves ready, and I marked up until I'm gonna sew. This is gonna be open, this bottom part of the cuff, and I top stitch the cuff after pressing it. Now that I've finished the sleeves, since the sleeves are separated, I'm also going to serge along the side seam lines, again being careful not to cut any of your seam off. And then I will attach the sleeves, making sure that I'm attaching the back to the back and the front to the front, and attaching them, making sure also that the tab is in place, and just follow your notches and attach the sleeves. Okay, the sleeves are attached, and I checked them and remove all the basting stitches, making sure that everything was caught in there, because this seam is kind of tiny. And then, rather than risk messing up my sleeve, because this is a really hard thing to put into the serger, I'm just going to do a small zigzag stitch along the sleeve. So I have attached my waistband, zigzagged along here, close that. So I'm going to turn the whole thing around now and start working on the zipper. The zipper is going to be sewn on this line, so I'm going to mark that. Along the front. I should mark it on the wrong side, of course. Also mark where your zipper will end at the top. And at the bottom, which is about 1/8 of an inch from the fold. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, mark my zipper placement. Then take your zipper and measure it. Here's where it's going to end. And this is the end at the front where the notch is. So I'm gonna mark that. And I'm gonna mark it straight across the zipper so that I know where to start and end. And now you can take your zipper apart. And first we'll attach the right side. I'm clipping that seam. Make sure it's facing towards the bottom because you want to cover that when you sew this. So this is the right side, and it will go this way. And I'm gonna follow that little, there's a little line on my zipper. Everybody's zipper obviously is probably going to be different. So I'm going to follow that line and match it to my seam line. So the way I do that is I push the pins in where my seam is going to be. And then match it to that line where the stitch is going to be. And then you're going to take your facing after you've done pinning all of that and sandwich that zipper in to the facing and the zipper and sew straight across up to the top line. So I also creased it, the seam that I'm going to fold, so that it's easier for me to attach the zipper. And I'm checking again, making sure on this side my measurement is not exact because I must have made the pocket a little bit too big, and it's almost right next to the seam. So since the zipper is going to go this way, I don't want to just attach it, top stitch it on the top. I want to attach it between the top and the facing. So I'm sewing it along that line, or pin basing it along that line, which is the line that I'm going to sew on. Okay, and once I have it basted on here, I'm going to pinned on here, I'm going to baste it over here, not on the seam line, just to hold it in place. And then I'll attach my facing. And sew it right along that line. You'll do the same thing for the other side. Remember to finish at the top, and then from the bottom, just start sewing it right where the mark is. I hand basted the zipper, and now I'm going to check to make sure that it's even on both sides. I just basted it along the outer edge. Because this is just for testing purposes. And that's where my fold line is going to be. And what I'm testing for is to make sure that the seam lines are equal. And they are. Both top and the bottom. So now I'm going to take it, open it up again. And now I will attach my facing. And sew with a zipper foot along the original line. Just sandwich the zipper in along the original line that I marked for the zipper. And then I'm going to take the part that's too long and fold it. Fold it down like this. And then sew all the way to the top and cut this off. I'll do the same thing on the other side. Okay, my zipper is sewn in and I'm satisfied with the way it came out. So I top stitched along this end of the zipper and this side. And I stopped here at the waistband because I want to just do one top stitch so it doesn't look like I went over it twice. And then I intentionally did not top stitch with the facing this way because I didn't want there to be a stitch here that shows, but that's just personal preference. Everybody's going to do it different. So then after that, what I will do is I'll fold it up here and catching the facing and baste it and top stitch all around the waistband. And for the collar, you want to fold your your seam back. And start pinning your collar. By matching your notches and your seams. And here I'm going to mark the front center seam. Because I'm going to extend that. The front seam to match the seam when I'm attaching the collar. And then the same way, you just match your notches. And your ends, and then continue to pin along and pin it all the way around. This side is going to extend up to here. Now the collar is attached, and I didn't serge this seam on purpose because I wanted it to fold down like this, and I'll tack it here. I did the same thing on the other side. And I noticed that I went off on my seam over here, so I'm going to fix that. Okay, now that's fixed. And the seam is pretty small, so there's no need to clip it. I'm just cutting these little stray strings. Now we're going to put the rest of the collar on. Wrong sides together. This will be really easy. Fold. Keep this end folded up where the seam is. And you're going to sew it down, straight down that seam, right across here. And just pin your collar. So I turn the collar, flip the collar around, and I'll be folding the facing up, making sure that I cover the seam line so that when I top stitch, I catch it. And you can baste it if you want, so that you're sure to catch all the seams while you're doing the top stitch. And then do the same thing for the waistband. Fold it up, fold your seam in, make sure you catch the lining in there, and you're going to top stitch all the way around. So now the waistband is attached and the collar has been top stitched. Now all that's left is to start putting on the snaps.